I love that song. Thank you, Ivy. All right, what's up, everyone? We're here. We're here. Finally, it's so good to see so many people just live and in living color. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy because if you didn't know, for the past 16 or 17 months, I've been at home pretty much with my dog Nyla. So this is a relief. I just want to first thank all the sponsors that helped put this event on. We could not have done it without you. This was a labor of love, as we say. So thank you to all our sponsors. I have to give a special shout out to Jamie Erickson. She couldn't be with us. She had a family commitment. She was on the committee with us. And where is Sasha Tani? Sasha's back there. Yes, thank you to Sasha. So they were my installation chairs, and we put this on. I'm just so happy and thankful that we're here. We also have to send a special shout out to Nikki Wilbur. She couldn't be with us. She just moved to Seattle. So congrats to Nikki. We love you, and we can't wait to see you soon. And then also, where is Ron? Ron Rubin there. So I want to shout you out for, first of all, 39 years being a member, and have your 80th birthday that's coming up soon as well, right? All right. I love it. I love it. Cool, cool. There you go. Before I get started, I do also want to give some credit and some thanks to Kristen. As she spoke about, this year was just a tough year for anyone to become president of any chapter around the world. Kristen did an amazing job with her leadership, her resilience, just keeping us on track. We didn't have to dip into reserves until May, which is shocking, puts a lot of pressure on me. But in the DJ world, we have something. What we do is we like to give artists and musicians their flowers before they leave us. So my commitment to you, Kristen, is we're going to give you your flowers throughout the entire term next year because you deserve it. And you've just done an amazing job. So just thank you for your leadership. You've left some immense shoes to fill. Thank you. And just great job. And it's been an honor being on your board. So thank you. What I'm going to do is I want to share my MPI story with you because I think that's going to show you where we've been as a chapter, where we are right now, and then where we're going. And it's being a member of this chapter has changed my life in so many ways. So I want to share with you a couple stories. First of all, do you remember where you were on October 8th, 2013? I know where I was. Marilyn is making a funny face. But she invited me to my first MPI meeting. We're at the Langham, Pasadena. For that, I was a new member. I had joined the morning before. Yes, Langham's here, yes. Shameless plug. The topic was like technology trends in the events industry. And the only person I knew there was Marilyn. And she had been trying to get me to come and join MPI because I had left Marriott about a year and a half ago. I had retired from Marriott at a very young age. And I was going to come and go full-time being a DJ. And I went to there. We went to the networking event that was in the morning, like the 11 o'clock time frame. And Tara Gatsby, former past president, she greeted me. She was like, how are you? What's your name? Why are you here? I told her, I said, okay, this is why I'm here. She said, well, if you really want to get the most out of MPI, you have to raise your hand and get involved. And I said, I can do that. I can get involved. So she introduced me to Emily Swan, who's now Emily Elps, I believe is her last name. And I was the volunteer just coordinator between communications and sponsorship. So that was my job. I did it. It was fun. And I just kept staying on the board. So we fast forward really quick to like my first board position. So I was on Marilyn's board. She was president. And I was director of social media. And this was a little challenging because for the time period before, we had kind of shut down our social media because things weren't going well. We hadn't had a lot of good content. So we kind of had to start from scratch. But what I really remember, this was the first time I think I really had met Joe Martin too, was the first retreat. So we went to Catalina Island for our first retreat. And we were there, and we sitting in this meeting room for 10 hours talking about communications plans and 18-month calendars and succession planning. I might have said 4 or 5 words the entire time. I was completely overwhelmed. I was like, what did I get myself into? But if you remember Judy Webster, she was our chapter manager from Global. And so towards the end of the time, she was like, you know, Amani, I think you're going to be president of the chapter one day. I said, really? I said, I'm not sure I'm going to be here tomorrow, but why do you feel that way? And she was just like, no, you're just taking notes, you're listening, and I just kind of see it in you. And she was right. Look at her now. And that's important. I want to share that because as you see with all the awards we've given out, you know, all the awards we get out today, like a lot of times people can see something in you before you can see it in yourself. And that was a perfect example of that. And that's what we continue to do in our chapter. That's why Kristen was talking about, you know, it's all about the members. Because when you join, we see something in you. We want to get you to volunteer. We want to get you to come and join a committee. And that's why. because we want you, first of all, we need the help. But second of all, second of all, we want you to grow as people, as professionals and personal, and that's important. So that's what I remember about my first board position. We fast forward, I was VP of Communications, and then I got to be Vice President of Membership. This was on Joe Marcy's board. And this was the one position that really changed my life, and I'll tell you a story. Joe Marcy had a goal of growing our emerging leaders. He wanted to grow our emerging leaders, so we had a plan to visit 6 schools: Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Northbridge, Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Poly Pomona, the International School of Hospitality in Vegas, and UNLV. And we went to visit those schools, we did events, and we did special events at Cal State Long Beach and Fullerton. And it was going well, we were growing, and then what happened was, I think it was June of 2018, I was at Camp Spinoff with DJ Ivy. We were there, and I got an email from Dr. Kim from Cal State University Fullerton. And she was like, we had a professor that resigned suddenly. Do you think you might be interested in teaching here? And I was like, okay, yes, I could try that, yes. But to give you some context, I grew up the son of a professor. So my dad was a professor at Howard University, one of the biggest historically black colleges and universities. Yes, HU. It's there you go Bison. Yes, thank you. And so he was the professor there, the department chair. So naturally, I wanted to be as far away from doing any kind of professoring or doing any kind of teaching as possible. I didn't want to do it. That's why I went to work in hotels, because it was far away from teaching. Yet, sure enough, I ended up in this position. Really kind of changed my life for a bunch of reasons. First of all, to be frank, like when you work at a Cal State system, you get good benefits. And if you ever worked on your own or you know about being an entrepreneur, like benefits are very expensive and sometimes they're not the best. So I was able to upgrade there. But then just teaching, like I love teaching. I love teaching people how to DJ. I love teaching people about the industry and how the industry works for our industry, hospitality and meetings. And so I was able to do that. And what's ironic is that as much as I was teaching the students, they were teaching me also what was relevant to them and everything. So it was very humbling. I love it. You know, now I found my why. You know, I'm here to teach and share my expertise, the industry, whether it be DJing or meetings, events. That's why I'm here. And so it's very fortunate when you can find your why. And I found that out. So I do that. And I have to give, yes, I have to give a shout out to one of my students. Myra is here in the front. So I'm so proud. And then Alexis is also here. Where's Alexis? She's here too. Yes, Alexis right there. So like, I get my students, they come, they get involved, and you know, during the pandemic, we had to teach virtually. So if I'm alone with my dog for all the time, I don't really see or talk to people. But when I was teaching, at least, I know we hate Zoom, but at least on the Zoom, I was able to have energy from the students and go back and forth, and that really saved me, because it was very lonely. As you know, it was very challenging. So to have the energy from the students while we were teaching and going through that, that did save me, because I was gonna go crazy otherwise. So that's just how MPI can impact your life, and it was completely unexpected. And one thing that we always encourage our volunteers to do is just say yes, and then we'll figure it out together. And that's something that we want to continue to do. Finally, Joe Martin approaches me for his year, and he says, Amani, I want you to be Vice President of Education, help plan our events and everything. And I was like, okay, Joe, I mean, I can barely plan a group dinner at Santa Monica, but I'll try. He wants us to plan WeCon. So I got with Miranda, who's here. We got Susie K back there, and Shelly Gray, and we planned WeCon. And our goal is we wanted to make Joe cry tears of joy when he was there, with just the quality of the programming, how the event went, everything. We even stuck in some Uggs there for people just to really get him to cry. And it worked. So we cried like the second day, mission accomplished. But once again, I didn't know how to do something specifically, but I just said yes. And then we figured it out together. We learned together. On Twitch, we always talk about we learn together. The same thing right here, like we learn together. So thank you, Joe, for pushing me outside my comfort zone. I appreciate that. Yes. Yes, cry again. It's 2. Yes. Okay, and then finally, in June of 2020, we all know what was going on with the murder of George Floyd. And you would remember you had a lot of brands that were putting up like those black squares and saying they were going to make certain commitments to do things with diversity. But as we know, many times those plans or those actions don't happen. And so we took some time and we said, what is our plan going to be? And ironically, we had been talking about this before. Like, this was not something that we kind of reacted to. We had been talking about this for years before Kristen was very important to Kristen, which I admire, about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this was already on our kind of timetable. And so we had to figure out what was our statement going to be. And so I shared my perspective, coming into being, because right now, as you know, I'm the first African-American president of our chapter, 45 years we've been around. So that's good, but if we're being free, it took too long. And so, but we recognize that. And so when they wrote that letter, I really love that letter because they were honest about the shortcomings, and they said we haven't done enough in the past, but we're going to be better. And I didn't tell them to say that. I really, on purpose, I waited. I wanted to see what they were going to say, and I was so proud of what they said in the letter because it's true. Yes, I'm here today, but we have more work to do, and it's really important. And I encourage you to go back and read that letter again and hold us accountable, because we've made great strides this year, but we need to do more, and we are going to do more. That's one of our other missions for the upcoming year. So I want to first really thank Joe and Kristen for putting it out there, for holding themselves accountable, and taking action. We've done a lot of things this first year, and that's more than many brands, many Fortune 100 companies. We've done more than they've done, so we should be commended. So thank you. Also, side note, I'm also the first DJ that's chapter president too. So shout out to the people that's there. Yeah. So I just have a couple, 3 really specific calls to action for all of you, and tell your colleagues who couldn't join us today but will watch the video that we're going to share. Raise your hand and get involved, even if it's just 1 or 2 hours a month. Just get involved. It can change your life, as I've tried to share with you. As I've exemplified, just say yes and learn as you go. We're not perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. And it's okay to make mistakes. That's how you learn, by making mistakes. Now, don't make any big mistakes this year, because I have some money. I don't want to take out of reserves, so we can make mistakes just small, please. Thank you. And then third, just keep in touch. I think now more than ever, it's really important for us to keep in touch with each other, check on each other, email, phone, text, Skype, FaceTime, whatever, Zoom. I hate Zoom, but still, just keep in touch, because as we've seen, it can be very lonely out there. And we are in the events industry. We're about people. So please, keep in touch with all your people. Even a simple hello, and don't lose contact. Stay in touch with us. We're here for you. And I just think that's really important for us to remember as we move forward. I'm very grateful for the lessons that I've learned here at MPI. I'm also very fortunate that I continue to remain healthy in our current environment. I don't take that for granted at all. And I'm very, very excited for the future of our chapter and our members. Thank you.